Guess what I'm doing tomorrow?
Something to do with Nightmare?
It's a bit of a vague question because there's absolutely no chance you could possibly guess.
None at all.
So I'm gallivanting off to London to the Prince Charles Cinema to a special screening of the 1977 William Friedkin film Sorcerer. The very first Nightmare pilot, as we know, was called Dungeon Doom. And the way pilots work, obviously, because they don't know if they're going to commission a full series, they don't commission a theme song. So they borrow music from somewhere else. And the music they borrowed was a song by Tangerine Dreams. Oh, God, the name of it's gone from my mind now. I wrote it down earlier and I can't find where I wrote it down.
This does sound familiar. Theme from Sorcerer.
Yes, so the song they chose was a song by Tangerine Dreams called Betrayal, also known as Theme from Sorcerer.
Yes, indeed. I accept that is a link. And I hope you enjoy it very much.
It's such a great film, honestly. If you get a chance to see it, it's brilliant. There's some kind of explosion at a mine in one of the African rainforests, and they've got to get this dynamite through some of the most dangerous roads in the world without the slightest knock. And all they've got are these rickety old trucks that haven't been used since maybe World War II. There's one sequence in particular known as the bridge sequence that is genuinely the most tense thing I've ever seen on film.
That is a lot less fantastical than I was expecting from the title, I must admit.
Yeah, Sorcerer is the name of one of the trucks. Welcome, listeners of Illusion to Temporal Discussion, the episode-by-episode Nightmare retrospective podcast. I'm Martin Harder, and my rump is suitably braced.
I'm Jake Collins, and I can just imagine myself doing this recording.
Today we're taking a look at Series 5, Episode 13, which was shown on CITV on Friday the 29th of November 1991. No change at the top of either the box office or the pop chart this week, as Point Break and Black or White both refuse to budge for prime position.
Hooray!
You're listening to Temporal Discussion, bringing you the latest news from 1991.
In the news this week, on November the 27th, 1991, the UN Security Council unanimously adopted Resolution 721, marking the first formal step towards deploying peacekeepers in the increasingly violent and chaotic former Yugoslavia. As the country was breaking apart following declarations of independence by Slovenia and Croatia and the outbreak of brutal fighting, especially in Croatia, the resolution authorized the UN Secretary-General to begin preparations for a peacekeeping mission. Sounds like a good idea, doesn't it? Contingent on a ceasefire being respected. This move laid the groundwork for the eventual creation of UNPRO4, that's an acronym, listeners, in case you didn't know, in 1992, and signalled the international community's growing concern over the escalating conflict and humanitarian crisis in the Balkans.
So this is, I think, a step in the right direction for peace. It wouldn't happen for quite some time yet, but it's a move.
Shame we, as a world, never quite reach the final square, as it were, isn't it?
And now time turns. The recording light burns. Timeout is gone. The podcast is on.
Well met, watchers, and just in time. Not that time means precisely the same thing here as it does where you come from. Still, your arrival is timely all the same. More than can be said of Pickle. Ah, speak of the elf.
Good dungeon to you, Master. Greetings, team. Ready for action?
You're suspiciously perky, Pickle. Still, can't complain. The quest, if you please.
It's for the crown, Master. And our dungeoneer, Chris Newen's leading it. Guided by Paul, Keith and Ciaran. From London. Just 7 minutes down the path. No supplies, but just about to choose them.
Choose away, then. Game on.
What are the objects again? There's a gem, there's a bowl, there's honey, and a glass.
He could eat that honey.
You've dealt with the glass, you don't need that again.
Of course, we're still in Bodiam Castle, East Sussex, where we paused at the end of the previous episode. The team here decide to take the gem and the honey. Then Chris is directed out through the low door.
This thing, you guys, I think we should take the honey. The way he says it is really unconvincing. So I'm pretty sure this is a case of Chris getting instructions in his earpiece.
I'm absolutely sure you're right about that. My absolute classic. This is entirely set up between the production team and the Dungeoneer, and the advisors know nothing about it. It's Daniel and the fearsome potion in Series 8. I think that's very much the end stage of all this secret instructions to Dungeoneers. They didn't take the high road as instructed on the Crazed Heifer menu, but as was said last time, who can blame them? This is the only time the low door here is actually used, as it's the only time it's actually open. And of course, they didn't want to go chasing those goblins, did they?
No, Ned probably didn't want to go and look at the moat either.
At least we avoid the looks at moat sequence as a direct result.
Chris,
Yes?
you've just come into what looks like a courtyard.
Yeah.
And there's some sort of chest just in front of you. Can you see it?
Yes.
And in the centre of the courtyard, Chris, there's a kind of a rope hanging down. And on your right, there's a knight, figure of a knight. Can you open the chest?
Think so.
Try.
Boo! Bet that made you jump, face ache! Bet that made you shaky achy!
We're still in Bodiam Castle, East Sussex here, listeners. There's one of those sky hooks at work again, holding up that rope. This is the occasion I mentioned on episode 7, where Elita leaves the room by climbing the rope and only makes the lower half of it wobble because the top is painted in. And now Martin wants to elaborate on something that's only touched on in episode 7, where there was a brief summary of the Indian rope trick.
Yeah, so this is obviously a reference to the infamous Indian rope trick, but legend has it that a magician throws a rope into the sky. It stands stiff like it just heard shocking news or was like drawn on, and a kid climbs up and disappears, sometimes returning, sometimes chopped up and put back together like a magical IKEA furniture. The truth is, though, no one's ever actually seen the full trick happen, except maybe that one bloke's uncle's friend's cousin who swears it's real.
He's the one we want. A man.
Oh, a man.
The original 1819 newspaper story turned out to be more fiction than fact, basically 19th century version of clickbait. In reality, street magicians use stiff ropes, wires, smoke, and a ton of "don't look over there" to dazzle the crowd. So while the full rope to heaven act may never have existed, the legend lives on, held up by as much hot air as the rope itself.
A very useful go-to for things like Bugs Bunny when they're dressed up as Indian fakirs and things.
Yeah.
Didn't anyone ever tell you, never open the box, else out jumps Jack? Not that my name's Jack, stupid.
Oh.
Not that my name's for the guessing, jackass.
Heavens, Master, it's that awful little cavern cow. What's her name? If she gets any ruder, her tongue will grow grass on it.
Yes, she's a cavern elf team, which makes her a sort of cousin of Pickles. Strange thing, I do know what she's called, but I just can't remember. Do you know, Pickle?
Oh, likewise, Master. Completely forgotten. Although in her case, it's probably a blessing.
And then you've got a bitchy comment.
Yeah. Say no, Rhea. Never open the box.
Now, it seems that Traegard and Pickle are both suffering from very selective amnesia. Their bizarre exchange succeeds in serving as a trigger for the advisors to remember that knowing her name gives you the power clue from the Crazed Heifer menu. And luckily, Lord Fear just happened to mention Elita's name to Sylvester Hands at the very end of the previous episode.
Yeah, so it's very clear to me that they're not remembering her name. There's a bit of a nod and a wink going on between Traegard and Pickle here. I believe it is part of the rules of the game.
It's never an exchange I've enjoyed, that one.
No.
Whether they're pretending to have forgotten or they've both suddenly really forgotten, I do find it extremely awkward.
Yeah, it's either they're being ridiculously stupid or they're just being dicks.
I suppose there's kind of a precedent for it. In Simon's quest in the previous series, Traegard suddenly forgot who Oakley was for no particular reason. Things like that did used to annoy me.
Yeah, I mean, it was different when he was mistaking Olgarth and Granitas because they did at least look similar.
Exactly, there you've got a running gag, quite nice, quite innocuous. They don't take it too far, except by completely excluding removing Olgarth from the first series after episode 2 in the end.
Chris,
Yeah.
ask her if her name is Alita.
Is your name Alita?
Not as thick as you look, are you? Still, I don't suppose you could be... All right. So you know me calling name. What do you want for a promise not to use it? I know what you lot are like. Panic knickers, the lot of you. Get whisked off to Mount Fear in level 3, and then you go calling me. Well, I'm not going there, nor into Isandra's icebox neither. I tell you what, give me a promise not to use my calling name, and I'll give you the password for level 1. But it's got to be a pain of death promise.
Guys, what do you think we should do?
Agree.
Yeah,
Promise.
Okay, I promise.
All right, then. The password is Sparrow.
Sparrow.
Now shove off, bird brain.
Did you notice Elita establishing the location of Mount Fear as in level 3?
Yeah.
I mentioned this on episode 6, talking about level 3 locations and potential Lord Fear encounters. Might Sarah actually have reached Mount Fear after all when she entered the Corridor of Blades? It's possible.
So my thought on this is a bit of a weird one because it's very much set up that level 3 in this particular case is going to be Winteria, in which case Mount Fear definitely isn't in level 3, or at least not that part of level 3.
Yes, you might have a kind of parallel locations in level 3. Of course, Alita mentions there, nor into Isandra's icebox neither. And I think if we ever do get back into level 3 in this series, we're going to see Winteria and Isandra again, aren't we? Because they need showcasing. It does just make me wonder even more than ever about that strange, rather anomalous, rather nondescript short level 3 that Sarah had, and we had quite a chat about on episode 6 with Paul McIntosh. I've actually formulated an intriguing piece of headcanon from this.
Okay.
I've decided that in my mind, whenever anyone enters the Corridor of Blades in Series 5 or 6, they have actually stumbled into Mount Fear for a few moments.
Possibly.
There's a very bizarre statement from Tregard towards the end of Series 6, where he says the Descender is unreliable for getting you to level 2 because it's just as likely to take you up Mount Fear. Is that what the Descender did to Duncan in this series?
Maybe.
And that's why Duncan ended up in the Corridor of Blades. The Descender took him up Mount Fear.
Maybe.
I've heard worse theories about Nightmare on this podcast.
Yes, most of them from us.
Yeah, and then in Series 6, the only appearance of the Corridor of Blades is with Sophia as a bridge from a rather nondescript early level 3 to the Caverns of Gore, which, as everybody knows, is within Mage Fire range of Mount Fear. So I think Sophia's taken a little trip through Mount Fear on her way to the Caverns of Gore. And that's what the Corridor of Blades is, Mount Fear.
It makes sense.
It does rather, doesn't it?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense.
Perhaps we won't start a big issue about that one, but shall we, while we're at it, announce the result of the big issue from episode 6, which was very much connected to this subject?
Yes, and you'll have to remind me what it was.
Who would have been Sarah's antagonist on level 3? What was the evil force that would have opposed her there?
Ah, yes.
Including the 3 votes that we cast on the podcast. In third place, we had Isandra with no votes. Everyone agreed with the 3 of us that there was no sign of Winteria at all on Sarah's level 3, and that wasn't going to happen. In second place, with 3 votes, was no one. I've realised, of course, since recording episode 6, if that's the case, when Alita mentions straight on down the path to the final conflict, she'd have been lying in that case, so it's probably not. No one.
Yeah.
So, fittingly, the winner by a country mile and more, with 11 votes, was Lord Fear.
Yes.
So I'm very happy with that result now, thinking that Sarah had just arrived in Mount Fear when she got killed.
Yes, I think it's likely. I think the people have spoken. That's a fitting result, and I think that's the most likely result.
Yeah, I agree now. Having been given a push in the right direction, quite literally, by a leader, Chris only has to take a couple of steps before the eye shield takes over. This particular passive path involves looking into a large well for an unnecessarily long time. Makes sense that it would be just off the kitchen, though, before Chris finally reaches the portal.
So we swapped the moat for a well.
Yeah.
It's a nice reminder of Old Nightmare, though, having a well there.
Can't help but bring Old Nightmare to mind with that, can you?
No.
And yeah, it's not as bad as the looks at moat.
Where am I?
Well, you're in a room with, on the floor, you've got hexagonal tiles. Yeah, with different emblems on them.
Fire, earth, and water.
There's always colored hexagons with pictures on. I gotta watch my step, cause if I get it wrong, I'll fall away. Fall away. This chasm is so deep, I can't see the floor. I gotta cross this bridge to get to the door in the causeway. Causeway. Causeway.
Well, let's talk about this causeway, because this is a mess.
For the first time on the Fire, Earth, Water causeway, there's no instructive illustration, or illustrative instruction. Shall we have a big issue about that?
No.
Over the door. Fortunately enough, Lord Fear blabbed the sequence at the end of the previous episode, as I'm sure you noticed, the advisors, remembering just now in the clip.
Is it the same sequence each time?
Yes, it is. It's always the same sequence run through.
Yeah, and it's the same for the colour code.
That's right.
One as well, red, blue, green, grey.
They're all pre-programmed.
Yeah.
Actually, speaking of Fire, Earth, Water always being in that order, I was noticing while preparing the previous episode, Alex's advisors agreeing with what I said back on episode 2. This causeway is kind of like rock, scissors, paper. You could say fire burns earth, earth absorbs water, water extinguishes fire. It's kind of a logical sequence in that way. It's not an established thing like rock, paper, scissors game, but it could make a certain logical sense if you want, and it did to Alex's team. Chris was certainly flirting with the edges on this one, and they could easily have said he'd stumbled off if they'd wanted to. Tim Child could. But nobody wants another level 1 death or another Fire, Earth, Water causeway death so soon. In fact, it would have been a combined rehash of the deaths of the last 2 teams.
I said at the beginning this causeway is a mess, and it is. That's not down to the team. They get him through it very quickly, but that's the problem. They are being rushed like crazy from both Pickle and Treguard, to the point that it seems unfair, to the point where it's like no wonder he's almost stepping off the edge. It's ridiculous. This is why we had a few seconds staring at a well, so they could have an excuse to rush this causeway. And I'm betting what's happened on other rooms, they have dawdled. And I'm betting they are almost trying to rush them into making a mistake. I think they're trying to kill them.
And when it doesn't work here, they go to extreme lengths on the next level. Perhaps Chris has started feeling homesick already.
Maybe.
I've been wondering, though, if even the production team, Treguard, Pickle, Tim Child, everyone is getting a bit bored of causeways now and wants to get through them as quickly as possible. We've had an awful lot of them, haven't we?
Yeah.
And incredible as it seems to think, we're only actually going to see one more in the whole of Series 5. And you don't miss them, do you, at that stage? There have been a heck of a lot of them.
I do like the causeways, but it's like Kim said before, it's their new toy, and they're using it as much as possible.
Yeah.
They did the same with the block and tackle.
I sometimes think in Series 6 they might have been wise to go for one causeway somewhere in the quest, and then the Great Causeway in Level 3. Then you'd really have appreciated them. But as it is, they're in it too often. You only just recover from one causeway and they're on to the next one, and they do get overexposure in that way, I think.
Yeah. I will go to bat for the Great Causeway, though. I've always loved the Great Causeway.
Some of the greatest moments of Level 3 tension ever on the Great Causeway. A very good idea in itself.
Yeah. And it's manufactured tension, yes, but it's like the bridge scene in Sorcerer.
Exactly. That's how TV, film, entertainment works. It's how Nightmare works. Yes, there is the gameplay element to it, but it's not the be-all and end-all.
Well, that's show business.
They do seem to forget quite a lot that their friend has a bucket on his head at the moment. They're saying to him, can you see? Well, of course I can't see the thing. It's not really there, is it? Plus, I've got this thing on my head.
I think friend is quite a loose term for how they feel about poor old Chris.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Keep on going forwards.
Keep going.
Straight through the door.
Keep going.
Forwards, forwards. Where am I?
You're in a courtyard with a drum and something on the drum. If you walk forward, you'll be able to see it. Stop.
What's on the... Some bread.
On to one of the highlights of the episode now.
Again, it takes place in Bodiam Castle. The bread gets #knapsack, then a familiar and menacing figure emerges from behind a pile of rocks and approaches Chris.
And proper menacing here.
Right, gotcha. Allow me to introduce myself. Scarkill's the name. Goblin master by profession. Bounty hunter by trade. And yes, you've guessed it. You're my wages. Now stand still, because there's no hope of escape. Stand still while I gets the irons on you. Lovely.
Chris, try giving him the gem.
I'll give you the gem.
Give me a gem, eh? Bribery you're trying on Scarkill, is it? And what would make you think I'm susceptible to bribery, eh? Let me have a look at it. Come on. Give it me. Give it me.
Special.
Hey, now that's a very fine gem, isn't it? But I'm afraid it's not enough. What else you got?
Give him some honey.
Honey? Now
Honey.
that's lucky for you because I've got a very sweet tooth, exactly like my nature. So let me have the honey, eh? Give me the honey. Come on,
What about
give me
the gem?
give me the honey.
Go on.
Thank you very much. Oh, I'm going to enjoy this. I like honey. Oh, yes, I can just imagine myself eating this. Oh, look, here, what's going on there? Hey, stop! Get off! What is it? Pestering bees? Get away from it! I like bees! Go! Get off!
I love this scene. Rainer Burton absolutely at his best. Scarkill, the character, at his best. Menacing, threatening, quiet, but very, very dangerous the whole time. And the bees scenario at its best too.
Yes. I'm torn between the nostalgia of this being the bees, which I absolutely loved from earlier episodes, and from the fact that it is the bees again.
Nice reuse of it, I think, particularly as we can now see the bees on screen. Definitely worth bringing back the scenario for that.
I suppose for us, when we're watching these things in block, it's a bit more repetitive than it is if, you haven't seen it for a couple of series.
Exactly. As you probably know, I had very vague memories of the first 3 series of Nightmare. I knew I'd watched every episode, I knew I'd loved it to bits, but I couldn't remember much specific about it. So this was a complete surprise to me, and a welcome one, because it's a brilliant scene, a brilliant way to defeat Scarkill, brilliantly pulled off.
Yeah, I agree. So this really is Scarkill at his most threatening, and you do get the impression that he was still planning to capture Chris after taking his valuables.
Yeah, that is so true. As we've been saying on recent episodes, and not quite so recent episodes, Scarkill is no longer bribable. And yeah, he's toying with Chris. He's playing with Chris here. Give me the gem, give me the honey. And yeah, he's not planning on letting him go after he's enjoyed the honey. It's a weapon, not a bribe.
Yeah.
Which does make Scarkill, pretty hardcore.
Yeah, still a bit of a dumb move to open the honey before he's actually put the irons on him, though.
Yeah.
I think what I would have done in Scarkill's place was to put the irons on him and then sat down and ate the honey in front of him, just to kind of rub it in a bit more.
Yeah, now that would suit his sadistic nature. And then where would that leave Chris? Manacled with no place to go when the bees chase Scarkill off.
Oh, well, a victory for our side for the moment, but it's always dangerous when the opposition is stung into action. You need to find a way out of level 1, Christopher, and fast.
Terrible pun from Treguard there.
Mhm.
Also, it always makes me cringe a bit when Treguard says something like our side in this context. I'd prefer him to have kept his ambivalence, and his role of leader of the powers that be will end up making him lose nearly all of his edge by Series 8, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think we all would have preferred him to be more ambivalent, but he's very much already moved over to the good side, hasn't he?
Yeah, and it just kind of erodes more and more that kind of lovely sinister edge he used to have.
Mm.
I think it takes away a great deal from him as a character. Rosie and I were doing a watch through of Nightmare quite recently, as listeners may have picked up from fairly recent episodes. And while watching Series 8, I did think, for the first time, perhaps slightly, occasionally, Hugo Myers is falling into Michael Troughton territory here, of slightly disengaging from the character and just trying to get the team through the game. He's all isolated by himself up at the back. No one's taking any notice of him.
Mm.
He's just desperately trying to get them to pay any attention to him. Try to move them through the game. Do you want to move her on? It's a sorry state for Treguard by that stage, I think. It's an enormous shame.
Yeah.
I just wanted to add to that, listeners, if you've listened to Nightmare the Lost series as closely as you probably should have done, you might have heard me say as Treguard, you have defeated your direst foe in relation to defeating Lord Fear. Your direst foe, not mine. A small but important distinction for a dungeon master, I think, and I do wish they'd stuck to it on the show, really.
Mm. The ice shell takes Chris up the stairs with the modern handrail into a room and through a portal.
Where am I?
Chris, you're in a room, it's like just this big courtyard, and there's like surrounded with a door just up the top of it on the left-hand side.
For the only time of 9 in this room, there is no prop of any description to stop the Dungeoneer from wandering too far forward and getting in the way of the blocker.
Mm.
Instead, Chris has been made to enter the room at a different angle, almost perpendicular to the blocker wall. It certainly does the trick.
Oh no, Master. The opposition's played a blocker, and a particularly nasty one.
All in all, you're just another face in a wall. All in all, you're just another face in a wall.
Password.
Tell him Sparrow.
Sparrow.
Chris, go forward.
Go on, Chris.
It's no more or less nastier than any other blocker. Stop overselling it, Pickle. It's a bloody blocker.
Yeah, I thought Pickle was over being surprised to see a blocker in the blocker room, but apparently not. As you say, he even describes this one as particularly nasty for the only time. Usually he'll use that for the level 2 blocker, meaning that he thinks both blocker designs are particularly nasty.
Mm-hmm.
What is a reasonably, normally nasty blocker in your estimation, Pickle?
I don't know.
We'll never know.
Oh, it's a blocker master. Quite a nice one this time.
That would provide some welcome change. If only they'd had a different design for Series 6.
Yes.
But no, it's all the level 2 blocker design from this series there.
Mm.
Chris is guided out.
Greetings, Christopher, and welcome to the end of the first part of your adventure. The next flight for level 2 will be departing shortly. Yes, I am Brother Mace, and the powers that be have charged me with the heavy task of being your final obstacle on this level. All you and your comrades have to do is earn your ticket, and I will issue you with a what was it they called it? Oh, yes, a boarding pass.
What a lot of Bodiam Castle we're getting today. As has been mentioned before, this is a flipped version of the room where Scarkill was just now. At the end of the previous episode, Lord Fear promised us the Gate Tower here, but it isn't.
Hmm.
We'll have to wait until Duncan reaches the end of level 1 to see that location again. Obviously, really, they'd have liked to have it at the end of level 2 again at some point, like Sarah had it, but no one's getting there.
Yeah.
So the other time we see it, and the next time we see the Gate Master, they're at the end of level 1, which I think takes away something of the significant crossroads feeling that we get from the Gate Tower with Sarah, just having it as one of the ways out of level 1. Nevertheless, we've arrived at the Descender Gate, but for the first time ever, as has been mentioned before, it's not the Descender behind there, it's Smirkanov. Well, it's always great to see Smirky, of course, but save the metal gate for the Descender, I say.
I disagree. I think it works really well here. I think having Smirky there is a great reward for the team, and the reveal of him behind the metal gate just makes it better.
Interesting. So having seen this again, you've changed your mind from earlier in the series where you blindly agreed with me.
Yes, and after speaking to Rhea as well, when they were told that their reward for getting past the causeway was they were going to get to ride on Smirkanov.
I suppose that's why they've done it, to give him an on-screen reveal, so he's not, like, just there when you enter the room area.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I'll change my mind about that.
I mean, I'm not asking for like a velvet curtain and a fanfare or anything, but just to have him not there and then suddenly the gate goes up and he's there, that's quite a big reveal.
It is. I got rather fixated on the fact that the gate is obviously designed to go with the Descender, and now they're using it for Smirkanov instead, but getting away from that narrow-minded thought, actually, yes, I do like it.
It is a shame that the gate doesn't look different, but that's probably a budget thing. It's probably they couldn't afford an extra 3D model.
Yeah, this was the way they could do it, and they continue to do it, and yeah, Smirkanov deserves it.
Thank you.
You enjoyed the anachronisms here, I think, or noticed them anyway.
I always enjoy a good anachronism. I'm not sure how anachronism ticket is, but what was it, boarding pass?
Yeah, I love that one.
Yeah, boarding pass is definitely one.
They're very consistent with the flight, aeroplane, airport anachronisms with Smirkanov, and it works really well.
It does, yes.
And I do like to see that mix of time periods in Nightmare, acknowledging our time and characters have awareness of it and take it into this fantasy reality mix, the world of Nightmare, a mix of all different times and places. Great stuff.
Yes, and it makes much more sense with Lord Fear being a technomancer as well, being aware of technology of our time and perhaps even having access to some of it in a limited form.
Yeah. Mace explains that Chris's boarding pass will be issued if he can show knowledge, as ignorance cannot prevail. Bit of a throwback here as he asks the team 3 questions. It's nice to see more questions on Nightmare, as they are something of a rarity now. Not that they're unheard of in Series 5 by any means, but they no longer play a regular role in the quest.
And I get to do my history lessons.
The first question. What were they called, those nightly wars fought for Christianity against the Moorish hordes? The answer, of course, is the Crusades. They get this one right with no hesitation.
And of course, Moorish hordes we haven't heard since Cedric's time. For Moorish hordes, he was Salah al-Din. But the Crusades were a series of religious wars fought between the 11th and 13th centuries, primarily driven by European Christians aiming to reclaim the Holy Land, especially Jerusalem, from Muslim control. Motivated by a mix of deep religious fervour, political ambition, and promises of eternal reward, or simply land and treasure, these campaigns were often chaotic and brutal. The First Crusade in 1096 was surprisingly successful. The later Crusades became tangled in power struggles, accidental attacks on fellow Christians, looking at you, Fourth Crusade, and general medieval chaos. Ultimately, the Crusades reshaped relations between East and West, left countless lives lost, and gave historians plenty of material to debate for centuries.
You mentioned the Fourth Crusade there, and I think Brother Mace, in his third question, mentions it without specifying that it was that one as well. The second question is, what was his first name, that king called the Lionheart? Everybody knows this, or certainly they did in 1991. Richard, again, right.
If you ever seen or read any adaptation of Robin Hood, it's probably in there.
Coming back at the end like a saviour from heaven, and as Martin's going to tell us, that may not be entirely the whole story.
Yes. So you probably recognise him as Sean Connery, or in certain circles, Sir Patrick Stewart. Richard the Lionheart was a 12th century English king famous for his bravery, military skill, and legendary role in the Third Crusade. Known for his fiery red hair and fearless leadership, he spent much of his reign abroad, fighting to reclaim the Holy Land from Muslim forces led by Saladin, or Salah al-Din.
But how today do we name him?
Say Muhammad.
Muhammad. Falsehood! Saladin was the truth I sought.
Though he was a great warrior and tactician, Richard was often absent from England, leaving his kingdom in the hands of others. His reputation as a chivalrous and bold crusader made him a romantic hero in history, even if his time as a king was marked more by battles and ransom than ruling his own land.
What, Richard?
Yes, if he came back, things would be different, wouldn't they?
I don't know. He hasn't been here for 10 years. He's been off on the First Crusade shooting people in Beirut.
My favourite King Richard performance is a very brief one from Peter Ustinov in Disney's Robin Hood, where, of course, he mainly voices Prince John. Absolutely wonderful bit of voice work, that.
I have an outlaw for an in-law.
That's the one.
Friar Tuck, it appears that I now have an outlaw for an in-law. That's not bad.
The third question is, one crusade captured Istanbul, but what was that city called then?
Anyone who's ever seen Tiny Toons knows the answer to this.
Yes, that's what it reminds me of as well. The answer is Constantinople. The result for the team, well, let's see, shall we?
So Constantinople.
Pardon?
Constantinople.
Constantinople.
Excellent
yes.
knowledge! A pass with flying colours. And speaking of flying, come along with me. The great dragon Smirkanov awaits you.
I love that Constantinople bit. I remember when my grandmother came over later that same evening to watch this episode on video.
Can I ask, did she actually specifically come over to watch Nightmare with you? Because that's cool.
Yes, she did. And she would also catch up with my mum and hang around. We were in and out of each other's houses a lot. But yeah, this was the 3 years, series 4, 5 and 6, that overlapped her living across the road from us and us having a video machine. And she got rather into Nightmare when I started recording it, and she did used to make a point of coming over on the Friday evenings after she'd had her pupils, as she called them, after school students, to supplement her pension, to watch the new episode of Nightmare. And I absolutely loved that because I wanted to give it another watch as soon as possible, and I always liked to see Granny, of course. So it was a great little tradition on Friday evening we had for those 3 years.
Yeah, I love that. Nightmare brings families together.
And we're going to delve into that a little more in Series 6, where my granny comes over to watch episodes of Series 6 and gets rather attached to a particular character. Gets a bit of a schoolgirl crush on him, even though she was 82 years old at the time. So yeah, on this particular day in 1991, my grandmother came over as usual later that same evening to watch this episode on video. She gave the right answer to this question with much greater ease than Chris did. She knew everything, really. She was born in 1910. Nothing had passed her by. But I thought it was such a complicated mouthful, I couldn't tell if she was saying the same thing I'd heard an hour or so earlier on the original broadcast or not. And actually, she was.
Constantinople is quite a mouthful. I mean, we're lucky that it's one of those words that is spelt exactly the same way as it's pronounced. But all you really have to remember is that every girl in Constantinople lives in Istanbul, not Constantinople.
So if you a date in Constantinople, she'll be waiting in Istanbul.
Even old New York was once New Amsterdam. Why they changed it, I can't say. People just liked it better that way. That's the end of that.
Big up, they might be giants.
Yeah, Chris got that out in 3.5 mouthfuls, didn't he?
Yeah, I mean, considering his age, I don't think it had been on Tiny Toons yet.
That wouldn't have broadcast on CITV yet. They held a lot of Tiny Toons back for a long time.
I mean, he might have been aware of the original 50s song, I suppose.
That was a good shout from the advisors to get it there, and they did manage to get it out of Chris in the end. This is the only time a character other than Elita walks on Smirkanov's back. Brother Mace gets to do it. Not even Romana does that, but then Smirky clearly hates Romana anyway. One time of several that Elita does it is in just a few moments, of course.
Yes, and if anyone should get to walk on Smirky's back, it should be Brother Mace.
He's earned it, hasn't he?
Well deserved.
Wonderful contributions every time we see him.
Yes. Brother Mace has had a hand in every transition between levels. Not every one that we've seen, but every form, including the transition to level 1.
Yes, of course. Who could this boatman be? Oh, it's Brother Mace. Yeah, and such wonderful scenes he makes. Again, it occurs to me, they should have kept him.
Was it a case of he wasn't available for the new series, or did they just... Because they kept a steady revolving door of actors, didn't they?
You should definitely ask him that if you get him back, because they do often seem to like to have that revolving door. Keep your mainstays, Paul Valentine and Clifford Norgate, Mark Knight when he turns up. But you've got quite a contingent of 2 series, and then, well, yeah, we've probably had enough of you. Raina Burton, Stephanie Hess, as well as Michael Kuehl. Zoe Lofton, of course, had that.
Yes.
Now the Dragon Rider's saddle lies on Smirkanov's back. That's where you must sit now. Step over the saddle, just over the saddle, like that. Careful now. Sit you down. Oh, sit. There. Now, don't worry. Smirkanov knows where he's going, even if you don't. Good luck to you, then.
Chris?
Yes?
You're sitting on the back of the dragon.
Yes?
In some sort of chair. And that's all we can really see at the moment. There's some rocks ahead of you. And it looks like you're about to take off. You're flying now. Flying over the sea.
Believe it or not, I've walked on the scales. I really wish I could see. We're flying so high, I hope we don't fail. But could this dragon be? Believe it or not, it's murky.
Flying towards some ruined castle. And it looks like you're about to land. Yeah. You've landed.
Oh, you! Yes, you great lazy pudding. Come on, stand up. Now, turn around, right round, and climb over the back of the seat. Come on, move it. Before I get Smirky to grill your chops. Right. Now, forgotten something?
No.
Say thank you, you graceless brat.
Thank you.
Oh, bad luck, Chris, falling in with Elita again.
Yes, Elita's rude enough to represent the underworld in bad mouthing. Still, I think you better put up with it, Chris. Smirkanov seems to like her, and we don't want to get on the bad side of him, do we? At least, we want you to get off the good side first.
What's your name, freeloader?
Christopher.
I've never come across such stupid names as you humans give yourself. And they're completely meaningless. Christopher. That's like something you'd call a cat or a pet mouse. My real name is Eliphasanthasanthasan Churgawinkle. Just try calling that 3 times and see where it gets you. Now, you might as well know this is the only way in or out of level 2, which means, of course, you've got to get back here if you want to get to level 3. Now, Smirky isn't going to give you another free ride, so if you want to get to level 3, you better get hold of a firestone. Even a pin brain like you can't mistake them. They're big red gems, and Smirky loves them. There's one somewhere on this level. Isandra, the sorceress, old icy knickers, has got one frozen away. So you're going to need some magic to free it. There. Think you can remember all that?
Yes.
I doubt it. Now, come on, move it, faceache, before I get Smirky to breeze your rump.
Considering the speed at which Alita arrives on Smirky's landing, she must have been clinging to his tail for dear life for the entire ride.
She didn't want Brother Mace to trump her. He's walked on Smirkenor's back. She's going to do it right away, whatever the cost.
Yeah.
That was quite an info dump from Alita, wasn't it?
Mm.
It always strikes me that wasn't a free ride. Chris earned his ticket and his boarding pass by answering Mace's questions. I suppose Smirky didn't get anything out of it himself, though. Alita seems to think he's feeling a bit peeved at not receiving any treasure or anything to eat. And yeah, he very much does need that sort of thing in future.
I think this is more Alita's line of thinking than Smirky's, though. I mean, she is very materialistic. Every piece of information that she usually gives is bought in some way, apart from when she's under threat of them using her calling name or something. I think she is just materialistic, so she would see that as a free ride.
She's transferring her own feelings onto Smirkenov.
Yeah.
It reminds me of what Traegar's going to say at the very start of Duncan's quest. If Smirkenov didn't want to give him a free ride, he wouldn't.
Exactly.
And I'm sure the same is true of Chris. Smirkenov is quite happy to collaborate with Brother Mace there to test Chris and team and then fly Chris to level 2. I'm going to dance around saying too much about Chris's level 2, but if Alita is telling the truth about having to get back here to reach level 3, this is the only time that Smirky would have flown a Dungeoneer from level 2 to level 3. There's no particular reason this shouldn't happen in Series 5, but still it's the only sniff we ever get of it as a possibility. And that's all I've got to say about that.
It would have been interesting because it probably would have been a new flight.
Wouldn't it be wonderful to have a special level 2 to 3 flight that ends up landing in Winteria? That would have been a spectacle.
It's a shame that in later series they relegated Smirky to being in one chamber. I think it would have been interesting to see what they come up with the flight once it had gone fully computerized. I don't think it would have looked good. I just think that it would have been interesting.
In the whole computerized dungeon, the strange mess that is Series 8, I do like to see Smirky there at all with his more detailed head and neck puppet.
There is a lot to crap on Series 8, but there is a lot of Series 8 that I really like as well.
In Nightmare's very final episode, Nightmare's very final few moments, I think they try to satisfy Smirkenov hungry fans by having a final flight sequence to rescue Oliver. Smirkenov goes to do that and you see him flying over the virtual landscape at the end. A bit of a clash of styles, I've always thought, but you can't help but be reminded of the good old days on some level.
Yeah.
There's an irritatingly slow passive path through the Greenwood to endure before Chris arrives in the level 2 clue room, which is a common use for Headingham Dormitory in this series, as I'm sure everyone has noticed.
This everyone did, yes.
Where am I?
You're in a room with 2 windows and there's a table in the middle. Walk forwards towards the table. What's on the table?
There's a scroll, there's a bag of silver, a feather, a jester. There's grapes, there's the spyglass and a green gem.
If you were interested, listeners, at all, by Rosie's garderobe factoid last time, but had trouble coming to terms with the word itself, consider how similar it actually is to the word wardrobe. These castle toilets were originally nothing more than holes to pop your waste through, often into the moat, located in a cupboard behind your hanging clothes. The ensuite facilities, accessed by passages in grand dwellings such as Headingham, were adaptations of this simpler concept, but the name stuck. I do find it interesting, those little bits of living history, things that people like Terry Deary and Tony Robinson would like to tell you to bring history to life, everyday human existence that you don't learn at school.
But your clothes would just end up smelling like crap, wouldn't they?
I think at the time they probably did anyway.
That's true.
So it was quite useful to double them up.
Yeah, maybe the bad smell of the clothes masked the bad smell of the excretion.
But I guess in a grand dwelling like Headingham Castle, they wanted to move away from that by building the ensuite passages with actual, quite like modern day toilets to sit on, so that they could have nice clothes and not stink like the peasantry.
The grapes get knapsacked, then the advisors decide, for some indiscernible reason, not to use the spyglass. Chris is instructed to read the scroll, and this time he can actually do it.
Fair trade is no robbery.
You had a bit of a callback yourself there to knapsacked rather than hashtag knapsack.
Yes, hashtag knapsacked. Let's face it, it's never going to happen.
Were adjustments made to Chris's helmet and or glasses to help him achieve this feat? Or was there something different about the scroll itself? Or did he get it in his ear to repeat?
I think it was just nearer to him this time. But also, I'm not convinced he didn't misread this as rubbery. It does very much sound like he's saying fair trade is no rubbery. I was half expecting there to be an ice pack on the table again.
I wonder, is that just his voice?
Could be.
Or it could be that he's still having trouble reading it. So yeah, another mystery for you to decide about there, listeners.
Well, there is another possibility that we really should consider, I think. I think we should consider the possibility that Chris is dyslexic.
There could be all sorts of things going on that we don't know about.
But that would explain it if he is getting a little extra help in his earpiece.
Ciaran seems to think there's a second scroll to read, but there isn't. The advisors work out to take the bag of silver, which Chris does at this stage, and then we don't come back to it and mention it again. So you have to remember that. He's already got the bag of silver. But then seem totally at a loss to do anything else. They waste a lot of time in this room. When I was trying to find where to come in with the clips, I thought, God, what a lot of dead air. So Traegard intervenes to get things back on track.
Yes. Now, I haven't said much about my opinion of this team, and far be it for me to punch downwards. But there is one part of that statement that I wholly disagree with, and that is the part where Ciaran seems to think.
Ciaran seems to be under the impression.
Perhaps I should put that in a less cruel way. I'm not a fan of this team, and I think Ciaran is one of their weaker elements. I think Chris is an okay dungeoneer for the most part.
And I think there is some decent thinking going on with Paul, possibly Keith. That Brother Mace questions bit was quite impressive. They do seem to know what's going on most of the time, but there's absolutely no gelling as a team, particularly the way they treat Chris.
Yeah.
The trouble they seem to have communicating with Chris at all. It does make some rather awkward viewing.
Almost every team has an advisor whose personality tops the others and they come through as the leader. And in this team, that is Ciaran. But unfortunately, it's not necessarily for good reasons. I'm sure he was a perfectly nice kid and I'm sure he's a perfectly nice adult, but he's coming across as the leader, but he's not a leader.
We're back to how these things come across on screen rather than any behind the scenes information that the advisors might like us to know before we judge them. But of course, as a TV show, we do judge them on what we see and what's presented to us. And yeah, I do agree about Ciaran. How Ciaran is presented to us, how he's coming across as part of the team. We're hearing him a lot more than we probably should be, is how it appears.
Yeah.
Remember, team, information is power.
Use the spyglass.
Okay.
But don't take it with you.
Okay.
Just so. But have you done as I've requested, madam? Has the trap been set?
May I remind my lord that I am not one of his creatures. I do no one's bidding. No one's. What Isandra does is to please Isandra. It happens to please Isandra to suppress this quest. I hate dungeoneers. They're so hot and sweaty.
Precisely. Tell me, madam, do you travel by magic or some more conventional manner?
I walk, my lord. Gracefully, of course.
Then you will need the code to cross my causeway. It is red, blue, green, and grey. There. I've just detected an intrusion by remote spying device. That You little beasts.
Quick, get him to put the spyglass down.
Put the spyglass down!
Isn't it handy how the teams always choose to use the spyglass just as Lord Fear is discussing details of his security setup?
Yeah, it was a good thing they were so reticent there, wasn't it? They'd have been too early.
Yeah.
Things like that do kind of show up. Yeah, it's a narrative. Take you out of it a little bit.
It's nice to see Sandra again, though.
Yeah, Sandra needed another appearance, didn't she? And it doesn't look like she's going to get one on level 3 anytime soon.
No.
There's one more appearance from her to come, but through the crystal ball again, not in person. A shame she only has the one in-person appearance, I think. It's a good appearance, and she does have some good back and forth with Lord Fear and the spyglasses. So quite well used in her 4 episodes where she does appear.
Yeah.
What about that second item, though?
Oh, God. This is a mess.
Let's see.
I think we should take out the feather or the jester's clown.
The jester's clown. Yeah, might come in useful. Yeah. Take the jester's clown.
You sure?
Well, what do you want to take?
I'm not sure. I think the pen. I mean the feather. The pen like
Right, then hurry up, quickly, take it.
So they've ended up taking the feather there as their second item at Chris's absolute insistence. So they're leaving with the silver and the feather.
See, I didn't hear them say they were taking the silver, but it just shows how much of a mess this scene is that I missed that.
Yeah, the scene is a mess. The team is getting into a complete mess. You get from Keith, take the bag of silver, Chris, and that's the last you hear of it. And then we get all that spyglass and discussing what the second item's going to be. It is a mess with a lot of dead air and a lot of strange argument leading to the wrong decision in the end as well.
It's full of indecision, but is also somehow still rushed.
Quite an achievement, really, and not a good achievement. Here comes another partial retraction for something I said on episode 6 of this series. I was letting my mouth run off there, wasn't I? Well, we were all very ill at the time when recording that. This time, it's not a factual correction, but speaking of factual corrections, the latest interesting factoid from Annie, by the way, happens to be that if you want to pronounce Castell Koch like a Welshman, it's actually Casteth.
Casteth Koch.
I should have known that Welsh double L would cause trouble somewhere along the line. But yeah, back to this partial retraction. As I say, not a factual error, but a case of careless hyperbole. My careless hyperbole on episode 6, where I said that Chris deserved to be bashed up, really meant that I can see why the advisors might blame Chris for screwing up the quest. But if they actually did give him a thorough pasting because of it, that was very wrong of them.
Yeah, we do not condone children beating each other up. We don't condone anyone beating each other up, but especially children.
I had some rough and tumble fun when I was about their age. I don't know about you, Martin. But everyone has to enjoy it. Otherwise, it's bullying and abuse.
Yeah, the difference between play fighting and actual fighting.
Exactly. But let's see what David Lerner had to say on this subject to Paul McIntosh in the very first issue of the Eye Shield fanzine, released on the 1st of December 1995. We usually avoided physical damage to the contestants. Usually. I remember one poor dungeoneer who led his team to a nasty death, only to reappear the next day to finish the recording black and blue. It's just possible his teammates decided to show their annoyance towards him in a dark alleyway somewhere in Norwich. That's what David Lerner said almost 30 years ago. As Rosie says, it's a memory he has. We can't be sure exactly how accurate it is, but he's thinking of something, isn't he?
Yeah.
And I do think it quite likely that he is thinking of Chris and his advisors. Chris's advisors show their annoyance towards him quite a lot, don't they? On screen as well as in a dark alleyway or back at the hotel.
Yeah, but he's doing most of the work.
Poor old Chris.
Yeah.
But to elaborate on, I can see why they might blame him for screwing up the quest. It seems to be entirely Chris's decision to take the feather instead of Motley's stick?
Because they're panicking him. He's got this haunting, he's got them yelling at him.
The thing is, the advisors actively wanted to take Motley's stick, and Chris takes the time to dissuade them. Are you sure? I think the feather. And I could see why they might resent him for that.
They could have outruled him.
Yes, it probably is the haunting here, hurrying them into take it, yeah, whatever, if you want. More very awkward on-screen situation there. A horrible scene to watch, a horrible scene to be involved with, I'm sure. And it could well leave this resentment towards Chris, misplaced as it may be.
Do you want to hear another theory?
Yeah.
They wanted to kill them off. He's got someone in his earpiece again and take the feather.
It could well be that, and that could link in particularly about Chris's level 2 being unwinnable, about Chris and the production team colluding to bring the quest to a premature end so Chris can go home and stop being homesick. I just feel more and more sorry for Chris talking about this. Whatever the truth of the matter, he's obviously not happy and comfortable in this situation at any stage.
They may have said to him, look, if you want to go home, take the feather. If you don't, take the folder off.
And I'm sure Rosie will listen to this with interest while thinking about what she's going to say next time. But yeah, reacting to David Lerner's quote there, from what we can see on screen, it seems to be entirely Chris's decision to take the feather instead of Motley's stick, and it seems that that is not what the advisors wanted, and I can see that they might be feeling some resentment towards him about it, particularly as not having Motley's stick is the only specific reason given in the next episode for the team's failure. It could certainly be said then that Chris led his team to a nasty death. It's not the whole truth. Of course it's not the whole truth. We'll never know the whole truth. But it is why I think that is what David Lerner was remembering there in one of the very first pieces of behind-the-scenes nightmare information ever. Bar anything that comes in the quest, and as Paul McIntosh says, that's all very much party line, isn't it? The first sort of unfettered piece of behind-the-scenes nightmare information from a nightmare actor in the very first issue of the Eye Shield. It refers to something. I think the most likely thing is it refers to this team and their level 2. And that's all I got to say about that. Except that Motley's stick is available as a clue object 3 times over the years and only actually gets taken once. The very first time by Leo. Absolute madness. If I saw Motley's stick, I would snatch it up because I want to meet Motley, and I certainly don't want to meet him, and I don't have his stick if he wants it.
Probably a good thing that Martineau was never on Nightmare, though, because he very much wouldn't want to meet Motley.
The Eye Shield takes Chris down the Headingham spiral stairs that make the wrong noise when Dungeoneers step on them into an unfamiliar location.
A rather beautiful, unfamiliar location.
Definitely. It's Coggers Hall Grange Barn in Essex.
Where am I? You're in a room, a barn, with people making things, it looks like.
I can see why Paul thinks it looks like the extras are making things here. There's definitely a craft fair feel to this setup, I think. With the presence of Julius Scaramanga, the main hint at commerce being on the cards. Among his wares are Gumboil's tabard from Series 2 and the massive Fright Night flag that sometimes appears in photo form in various rooms.
I sometimes wonder if this is a bit like in, I think it's License to Kill, when Bond temporarily gets fired, and when he's emptying his desk, you see like the certain props from the older films to show that it is the same Bond. I wonder if they're doing the same thing here.
It's a bit like chucking in bits of old Doctor costume into the TARDIS sometimes, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's more likely it's just what was lying around.
Yeah. In the Crazed Heifer, either Lilith is visiting at some point or someone's nicked her dress.
Roll up, all the very best in adventuring equipment. All the very best when you're on a quest. Roll up, we got swords, we got shields, we got armor you can face dragons with. Well, I'm joking, ain't I, eh? Because everyone knows there's no such things as dragons anymore. Well, now, you with the helmet on, you look a likely sort. Come here. Come a bit closer. Come on, don't be shy. That's it, this way. Give him a hand. Yeah.
Now, there we are. Right, well, it's going to be your privilege, and count it no less, to do business with Julius Scaramanga.
Shop, master? No, Pickle. Closing time, I'm afraid. We don't open all hours in this business. Sorry, but I'm afraid you're going to have to wait till next time to find out what Julius Scaramanga is selling, or what Chris and chums are buying. Do you think you can curb your curiosity till then? Good, because you're going to have to.
The credits run over Wolfenden High Street, shot from the other end than we're used to, as seen in the quest itself when Sarah identified Julius Scaramanga for Gwendolyn back in episode 4.
So, this episode is not one of my favourites. At times, it is passable, and at other times, it is a complete mess. And a lot of that's down to the team, because the team are a complete mess. I know they're young, but we've seen younger teams who weren't as hesitant. They do shine quite well during Mace's quiz. I wouldn't have known about Istanbul and Constantinople back then. But all in all, it's not good, is it?
Talking through it now, it's really brought it home to me how much of an overall mess the episode is. And the mess that the team start getting into really is up and running during the course of the episode. I've always liked that Brother Mace questions bit. It's entertaining. It's pretty impressive. I love that Scarkill scene, and I know you do too. Possibly Scarkill's most entertaining scene. I hesitate to say finest moment. I mean, capturing Richard is some of the best, purest Nightmare 24-karat gold ever.
Yeah.
But a brilliant appearance here from Scarkill. Great work from Raina Burton. I suppose anything positive is going on in spite of how the team are doing it and how they're interacting with each other rather than because of that, and that's a bit of a shame.
I think that's the thing. You could have like some of the best acting ever, and if the team aren't doing their part, then it doesn't matter.
And it does add to how much excitement you might be feeling for what's going to happen in the next episode, how the team are going to do on level 2. We're probably still stuck down in very bottom gear because it never seems like Chris and team are going to do that well in the next episode. We can't possibly imagine the strange depths to which their quest is going to go off the rails in the next episode. But I don't think anyone's going to be coming back for episode 14 expecting great things from this team, are they?
No, I don't think so. If you've been enjoying the podcast, leave us a rating and review on your platform of choice. It really helps us grow and reach more people who might enjoy what we're doing.
We're Nightmare Pod on Threads and Twitter, and you can find us on Instagram at Temporal Discussion.
You can follow us on Blue Sky at nightmarepod.bsky.social and on Mastodon at topspicy.social/@nightmarepod.
We hate when ads interrupt podcasts, so we're keeping this one ad-free with the help of our supporters on Patreon. You can join them by supporting us at Nightmare Pod.
Speaking of which, here's a shout out to Keepers of the Book of Quest, David and Rabbit, Paul McIntosh, Peter Pulsford and Scott Evans.
Advisors Benjamin Bloom, David Thompson, Kim Harder, Kim Stewart Crossley, Lord Entropy, where the O of entropy, not Lord, I might mention, is a 0. Paul Craddy, Peter Sidorn, and Pig Ben is.
Hello, Piggy, Piggy, Piggy.
And I'd just like to add that Kim Harder is definitely a silly surname.
It's a brilliant surname.
And of course, our Dungeoneers Peter Courage, Dan Heath, and Adam Battersby.
If you'd like to hear your name mentioned on the podcast, support us at Dungeoneer level or above on Patreon.
Patreon supporters also get access to exclusive episodes, merchandise, and if you pledge as a Keeper of the Book of Quests, you'll even get the chance to join us as a guest on the show if you so wish. All our paid up members also get access to each episode an entire week before everybody else, or possibly longer.
Although you've been very good about it recently, I must say.
I've been much better. You know what I've been doing? I've been uploading them both at at the same time. So I've been uploading them to Patreon and Spotify at the same time and just making sure I get the dates right on them.
There we go. That's come full circle.
Yes.
Our website is nightmarepod.co.uk, and you can find Temporal Discussion merchandise, including t-shirts, stickers, and more, at nightmarepod.redbubble.com.
You can also drop us an email at podcast@nightmarepod.co.uk.
And just keep telling yourself it's only a podcast.
Isn't it? Sorry.
We're descending into disarray now, like Chris's team. Actually, speaking of fire, earth, water always being in that water, oh, for goodness sake.